Welcome to the show. Today, I'm lucky to have Brad Ritter from the School of Grit. He is a coach, author, husband, father, just got a little bit, a few extra things going on here and there. And he's, if you have to watch the YouTube, he's literally walking while we're talking. How are you today, Brad?
I'm doing great, Peter. Thanks. It's the Travel Wins podcast, so I thought, well, I should be traveling during this. But no, this is my standard operating procedure. I try to do this as much as I can. Anytime I have an interview or talking to someone, I try to do it on my treadmill.
That's pretty crazy. So now I feel like a complete slacker as I sit here on my semi comfortable chair and watch you exercise. I should get my weights out or something while we're doing it.
Yeah, get those weights out. Go for a walk and talk, man.
There you go. So you got the School of Grit's pretty pretty cool concept. You know, uh, but kind of give us an idea of what it's all about.
Yeah, so I mean, it really came about. I just turned 43, but really,
You're a
like,
youngin.
yeah, thank you for saying that because I had a friend whose child said I look like their grandpa, and I saw the grandpa, and I was like, really? I look like that? So thank you for saying that. I appreciate that. But School of Grit was really born out of just I had an honest conversation with myself, believe it or not, kind of like one of those man in the mirror, person in the mirror type moments.
Yeah.
And those questions I think that come up for everybody came up for me. What am I here to do? What's my passion? What's my purpose? Blah blah blah. I'm sure you've
Yeah,
searched for that, as many of
absolutely.
your listeners have, and that led me to really just examine my life. And man, I was fortunate, dude, very fortunate, and still am. I'm the oldest of four siblings, and my parents are still married. I grew up middle class, middle America. Grew up
Yeah.
or still in Indiana, so I was fortunate. Wasn't born with a silver spoon, but I wasn't poor, man, because I knew what that was. And we always had food on the table, always had a roof over our head. I could make friends fairly easy, and man, I would just kind of get by, with grades. Like
Yeah.
I could memorize enough just to kind of get by and get decent grades. So I never really applied myself probably like I should have. And my realization was in my mid 30s that, yeah, I'm quote unquote successful by, maybe industry standards or whatever. But man, I've never really pushed myself to really figure out what I'm truly made of. And I just thought I've had too easy of a life. If you can
Wow.
believe that, that's what I
Yeah,
said. I
yeah,
was like, man, my life's been too easy. And not that I haven't had hardships and stuff along the way. Everybody has them. But in relation to others that you've probably no doubt interviewed or, motivational speakers you come across, it's like, whoa, I never had to deal with that type of
yeah.
adversity or battle, cancer or be deployed or, the list goes on. So I wanted to bring adversity into my life. The question was how. And long story short, I chose a camp that's put on by a gentleman by the name of Mark Devine. He runs an awesome camp called SEAL Fit, and it was born out of training civilians or people looking to get into spec ops to be Navy SEALs. That's what the training's based on. So
Yeah.
it was 50 hours straight of no sleep and just constant mental, physical, emotional, we'll call it training. And man, I was reborn, dude. After graduating that, it opened up a whole new world to me, and it really shattered all these limitations that we put on ourselves about,
Sure.
where we can go, what we can do, how much money you can make, all that stuff. So
So you purposefully, without wanting to get into spec ops, took a spec ops course.
right,
How many
exactly.
out of all the people in there, how many were doing it just to do it instead of actually preparing for spec ops?
So back then, this was 7 years ago. There was 50 in our class. I'd say half of the people there were looking to, be a SEAL, go be a Marine
Yeah,
or
ranger or whatever.
Ranger or
Yeah.
whatever, right? And then the other half were just like me, like weekend warrior,
Wow.
civilian, just wanted to see if we could do it, test ourselves. And I was 35 at the time, and I was one of the oldest dudes there. I have a lot more gray hair now, but it was just coming in then, and they called me Grandpa. That was my nickname
At 35.
at 35. Yeah,
Yeah.
Grandpa, because I'm just going against these 20-year-old
Yeah.
studs. Yeah,
That's crazy because yeah, I've interviewed a couple SEALs, and the one I interviewed that I remember probably wow, I remember them all, but he didn't know how to swim when he was in high school. And so, but he wanted to be a Navy SEAL. So he literally taught himself how to swim so he could become a Navy SEAL when he got into the, I'm like, come on now.
It's crazy, man. You hear about that, and then you hear of these collegiate swimmers that go to do it, and they don't make it.
Yeah.
And it's like, why is that? And it's up here.
Yeah.
It's the 6 inches between your ears, man. That's what
So
makes all the difference.
that's exactly what he was like about. Is like, he knew he needed to get by in the swimming, but he knew he had it up here that he wanted to do it so bad that he would teach himself how to swim. I
Yeah,
mean,
that's so cool, man.
yeah,
Yeah,
that's one of those
but no, I,
stories.
I did not want to become a SEAL. You're 100% accurate. But I appreciate that community and just the team aspect of it and the training and
Yeah.
just the fortitude that you get from doing that. That's what kind of drew me to it.
Yeah, on the physical conditioning side, I remember I was training Brazilian Jiu Jitsu at the Gracie Academy here, and one day I went in for an afternoon class, and there was like 12 guys in there that weren't regulars. You know, they weren't dressed in the gis and all that. And so Hedon Gracie said, "Hey, roll with these guys. It's their first day, so be, you know." I'm like, "All right, you know." And they would just go. You could tap them. They're like, "Oh, that was great. Show me how you did that." And I'm like, "Okay, you know." So we do it, and we go again. I could get them, but they were just they didn't want to stop.
Hmm.
And I go, "So what do you guys? What part?" He goes, "Well, I really can't tell you." I'm like, "Oh,
Uh huh.
okay." But yeah, I mean, if you do jujitsu for like 6 hours straight and you're not tired, you're in pretty phenomenal shape.
Yeah, you've got some good cardio, but you
Yeah,
got some good
yeah,
stuff going. Yeah, you
yeah,
train, put it
yeah,
that way. You do something physical,
yeah,
not just
yeah.
walking in off the street and
No, no, and
blasting.
they all had the look. I was just like, oh, okay,
Yeah,
you're
okay.
part of some
Enough,
kind of team.
enough said. Yeah,
Yeah, yeah.
that's
So
cool, man. How long you been training in jiu-jitsu?
It's funny. I started when I was 35, and then
Awesome.
but I haven't trained now in a couple of years. Just it's the podcast, and then
Yeah.
the thing I find with so I started doing some other like just calisthenics and body weight training
Yeah.
because when I travel, I don't have a gym all the time,
Right.
you know. So the thing I'm always trying to work on is
Yep.
keep moving, and you know, it's kind of like what you're doing right now. So like I said, I'm getting jealous as you're walking,
Keep
but
keep moving, man. It's like what
yeah,
happens to water when it sits too long? It gets stale and smells. So, and I love that. Like, I think a lot of people when it comes to training, because training is something big that we do inside a school of grit. It's one of the big components we hit on. It's foundational, in fact. But I just try to impress on people like, look, you don't have to belong to a gym. You don't need a ton
yeah,
of equipment to get in an awesome workout. You just you need you.
yeah.
Just do some calisthenics for 30 minutes to an hour, and I guarantee you're going to be smoked.
Well, I was going to talk to you too about that, but you know, as someone, I don't stay in hotels anymore because I have my RV a lot, but I still stay in hotels. I'll be in 2 weeks at a time, but
Hmm.
you know, I'm always looking for ways to train. Do you ever talk to some of the people that join your program about that, about specifics?
Yeah, yeah. So I try to meet them where they are, and do what you can with what you have. Is
Yeah,
is the message that I just try to tell them. So some people do have a garage gym or they got a ton of stuff. That's great. But for those who don't, there's just some basic stuff I recommend investing in. Like you can do a ton with a sandbag or a
yeah.
backpack full of sand. I mean,
The
you just
ruck bag,
can. It,
yeah,
it could be a ruck. You could ruck, which I love rucking. You can ruck it. You can swing it like a kettlebell. You can do presses. You can do all kinds of stuff with it.
yeah,
Huge on a pull-up bar. Like if someone asked me once, like, what's the first piece of equipment you should buy if you're looking to get a garage sale? I'm like, for me, it's a pull-up bar, man. Because
yeah.
dude, if you can do pull-ups, you're hitting so much, you know.
I
So
just
yeah, those are
started
just
doing those
basics.
about a month and a half ago.
Did you really? Congrats,
Yeah,
man. Because that's
yeah,
that's a huge win, being able
yeah,
to do a pull-up. I mean, it's so hard to do, and it's like I've heard Jocko Willing talk about this.
yeah.
Like, how do I get better at doing pull-ups? It's like, well, you do
Do
pull-ups.
more.
It's like, how do you get better at podcasting? You do a lot
Yeah.
of podcasting.
Yeah.
You get better.
It's like it's pretty much like anything though. I mean, you have to do it though. You
You
know,
have to
I
do it.
because
You
I've talked
can't
to some
read. You can't read
podcasters.
about it.
I've talked to some podcasters that are like, so you do one a week? And I go, yeah. You know, it's like I take 2 weeks off basically in the wintertime. You know,
Hmm.
you don't get a lot of listeners in that last 2 weeks of the year, anyways. But
Right.
I said, yeah, so you know, 50 a year. He's like, I go, where you at? And he goes, well, I'm 3 years in. I'm done like 30.
Mm.
I'm like, so you're doing 10 a year, it's one a month. or less. It's like,
Right.
but it's consistency too. I mean, is that part of your program too? Is just
Yeah.
consistency with it?
Yeah. Yeah. Consistency over really anything else, no matter if it's weight training, nutrition, sleep. I mean, I think consistency is key in just every avenue of life because I'm just not a big proponent of these, hitting it hard once a week, or twice a week. I'm like, oh yeah, what about the other 5 days
Yeah.
that week, or what would you eat, like, because you can't outrun a bad diet if we're talking specifically about that. So yeah, consistency is key, man. Just pick something, and I say that about dieting too. And look, I am not a nutritionist. I just know it's worked for me. I know it's worked for others, but it's like I tell people, if you can't see yourself doing this for next year, like the whole year, like probably shouldn't do it. Just
Right.
a some sort of crash type thing. It needs to be a lifestyle, man.
I agree. I mean, I'm 55, so I'm much older than you. So I sit there and go, I wish I would have known this when I was 35.
Yeah,
All the things I've learned over the last couple, especially talking to people like you on my show, where I'm like, oh man, diet, nutrition, consistency, being able to
that's
do it.
that's what it is, man. Everybody wants the, and I'm guilty of it too, right? We want that. We want instant gratification. We want to take that pill or drink that drink, and man, it's like there's no substitution for hard work. There just isn't. But what's in there? Work. You got to do it. You can't read about it. You can't just listen to it on a podcast and hope it absorbs into you and just magically you wake up tomorrow and
You're
boom,
jacked.
you've dropped that weight. Or yeah, you're super man. I'm looking good.
But I
That,
listen to
that doesn't work
Jocko's
that way.
podcast. I should be jacked by now.
You should listen to it while you're working out.
Yeah, no
then
kidding.
maybe you're onto something.
Yeah.
Yeah.
And Jocko's a freak, man.
Oh,
I've seen him train with in jiu-jitsu, and I'm like, no chance.
yeah, yeah. He's amazing, man. I really like his message, and
Yeah.
it's simple, right? Discipline equals freedom. It's so true. Like that's still probably the hardest thing for me to do day in day out. Just waking up early. I still don't like it. I've been doing it for years, but I still hate it. Like I love to sleep. I love my bed, but I know if I want to get ahead and get stuff done, man, it's for me. It's got to happen in the morning, just with little kids and all that.
Yeah, no doubt. Yeah, so part of your background is you've been in sales and you've kind of done what I've done to a certain extent. You know, how much of the School of Grit has helped you in your day job? Excuse me.
A lot. I it's you can't really because mostly what I do in for your listeners, what I do in School of Grit is we work on building grit within people.
Yeah,
I try to say that we're developing a warrior class of people. Now, warrior takes on a lot of different
sure.
means, definitions. Of course, there's your professional warriors, your soldiers, police officers, things like that. But I think we all, to some extent, have warrior attributes and can live a life like a warrior because it's not a matter of if, but when you're going to get contacted by life, and just being able to deal with all those situations. Not saying it's going to be easy, but there's certain practices you can employ to where life's going to be a little bit easier. So yeah, I mean, inside of School of Grit, we employ a lot of that stuff, a lot of those tools, a lot of those tactics, and it's absolutely helped me in because I still have a day job. I work for a specialty print company, and so for instance, if I'm working with a client on how to eradicate maybe something emotionally, let's say, or
Yeah,
maybe I'm working with them on building emotional resilience. Well, guess what? Being in sales, for all those people who have actually, we're all in sales, but for those who are
yeah,
actually in
yeah.
sales, how many times do you hear no a week? Well, that's actually, it's good to hear no, but a lot of people, especially when you first get in that industry, man, they get gun shy. They don't want to hear it, or they think it makes them of less value if they didn't get that sale. And
Yeah.
I just tell people it's not like baseball. If you go 3 for 10, you're probably going to be an all-star.
Yeah.
Same sort of things.
Yeah, it's interesting. I Travel Wins, the show name comes from when I was traveling, I was always so focused on my sales. Like, I mean, I always tell people, and in one of the many podcasts, I always tell people I travel for a living and I do meetings in between,
Hmm.
because I'm an outside sales rep. So, but I would focus so much on my sales numbers when I'm driving. I'd be like, okay, I got to get this. I got to
Yeah.
work on the shirts. I got to get the boots. I got to do this, and it would kind of overwhelm me. So I started creating things outside of stop, take a picture or something, or take a different route,
Hmm.
take a different road, eat somewhere different, create a win along the way. So that's what I'm looking now. The podcast is my travel win because I'm thinking about the travel win. My sales are up. My sales have been up last 3 years, have been up better every year. So
That's
because a lot of
awesome.
people are like, is the podcast affecting your sales? I'm like, well, I'm doing more.
Isn't that
So
amazing? I tell people the more it never fails. I don't know what it is. The more I work out and train, the better I do in
yeah,
selling as well. And for me, it's working out is it's like meditation, man. Like a lot of times I got these problems. You have these problems we're trying to solve. And it's like if I can just get myself into that state where, man, I am spent and really all I can concentrate on right now is just my next breath.
yeah.
Um, like you shift through all that crap, all that muck, all that mud, and it's like those answers start coming to you because they're in there, they're inside you. But we just got all this noise we got to sift through. And I think that's why I like working out so much is because it just it helps me. It really is meant. Or going for a run, man. I can't tell you how many times I've gone for a run and man, just I get back and my head's clear.
Yeah.
Maybe I've got that answer, or I'm a little bit closer to it. Some problem. Yeah,
For
so they're
me, it
working hand
also
in hand.
it sounds kind of an oxymoron, it, but the more the days I train or exercise, I sleep better
Mm-hmm.
because my body's not restless at night. My body needs to rest, so all of a sudden it rests. And if I don't exercise, I find myself waking up at 3 or 4 in the morning, going, "Okay, I got to get that done. I got to do that. I got to." Do that.
Yeah.
And then,
I've yet to find the person in my membership group that because a lot of people do have crappy sleep for whatever reason.
yeah,
But when you boil it down, it's like, all right, if you wake up early, you get a full day's work, you get in a killer workout, I guarantee you're going to be tired probably about 9 o'clock, 10 o'clock.
yeah.
Almost always. Maybe there's the rare individual that can just rock and roll on 4 hours sleep or whatever. But I personally have not met them. And it's
I'm
like
with you.
if you do that day after day after day, that full day, yeah, your body's going to be tired. It's time for you to go to sleep. Don't turn on the TV.
Yeah.
You got to put yourself to bed, all that good stuff. Yep.
So what's involved with it? I mean, I don't know what you can't tell us all your secrets, but what's involved? Like, if someone were to join the School of Grit, I mean, what's included?
Yeah, so there's two avenues you can go. One is we have a monthly membership you can join, and think of it as an actual school where you can pick different classes you want to sign up for. Except the classes are Zoom calls led by subject matter experts that I have, and some talk about meditation, visualization. Others talk about nutrition, self-defense, situational awareness. So we really cover the whole shebang.
Okay.
But what's cool is for a member, it's like, you can attend the stuff you want to attend and don't join the calls that you have absolutely no interest in. I lead some of those calls as well, obviously, bi-monthly. So that's one way you can get involved. And the second is we have like a deep dive, what I call mastermind group, and it's a 6-month commitment. And it's a call with myself and my counterpart. His name's Javier Mesa. He's my right hand man. So you're going to hop on a call. You're going to be on a small group. So there's no more than 8 people in these particular groups. And we teach what's called the unbeatable mind lifestyle. That's what I'm certified in as a coach, going back to that SEAL camp that I
Yeah.
joined, Mark Devine. He has a sister company called Unbeatable Mind. And it was a year-long intensive that I went through actually during COVID and became certified licensed instructor through them. There's actually
Nice.
less than 50 of us in the world right now, and I love it because what we do is we work with people and we break a person down by working with them on physical, which I've hit a lot, mental, emotional, which is oftentimes Mount Everest
Huge.
because a lot of us
Yeah.
had a lot of baggage we're carrying around. Intuition, so being able to trust that inner voice, and then finally we call it the warrior spirit, but really identifying like what are you here to do on this planet, and we're going to hold you accountable to it, right? That's why you've got us as your coaches. So
Yeah.
that's a more deep dive, immersive, once a week. You're hooking up with us, and then every Saturday morning, I actually teach PT classes from my garage, live from my garage. Those are usually an hour, sometimes two, but we'll do really cool stuff together. I'm just a huge believer in working out together. Even if you can't be physically with that person, we'll do it over Zoom. But we'll do something gnarly. Like are you familiar with the Murph workout?
Yeah.
So
Yeah.
like we always do that Memorial Day weekend. Chad 1000's coming up, which is 1,000 step ups on a box for time, wearing a weighted vest. But we just got done with our own. I was looking for a crucible that could. I wanted people to experience kind of what I went through at Kokoro Camp
Yeah.
without having to go through all that crap, and a lot, and you don't have to be like tip top physical shape to experience it. And I thought it's what I'm doing right now. It's walking. So this was the first year ever. We just did it 2 weekends ago. We call it the long walk, and
Yeah.
it sounds easy, but it's not. But you walk for 24 hours, is what it is. You rest when you want to rest, but it's a full day of walking. And I tell you what, you will probably meet a piece of yourself that you've never met before during a 24-hour walk. It'll probably be at night. I guarantee it.
Yeah.
You'll want to quit. You're gonna be tired. You're gonna be sore, and that's what I want. That's what I want people to feel. I want to put them into those environments safely, so that they learn about themselves and they can start using those tools and tactics that we teach and really gain control of their inner dialogue,
Yeah.
so that they can control their life. Because that's what we're doing. Is real like people are just we all want, I think, the same type of stuff. And I just heard this on Joe Rogan's show, actually. So shout out to Joe. What? How would you act if you had a camera crew following you around,
Yeah.
filming your life success story? Like, what would you be doing right now? And he's like, go do that. Go make a list of all that stuff and go do that. And I'm like, that's it, man. It's like,
That's pretty.
uh,
That's interesting. Yeah, I mean, you think about the Kardashians and some of the other people that have had camera crews following around. Now that's a little more scripted. Like they actually prepare. Like they say, "Hey, I'm
right.
going to be there." But still, I mean, how
Yeah.
would your day look?
How would
I
it look?
totally agree with you.
Would you eat what you're eating right now? Would you
Yeah,
sleep in? It's like what? How hard would you work? Who would you call? Like
yeah.
going to sales. Like, would you cold call that person that you've been putting off for like 2 months because you're afraid? What if they actually pick up and I stumble on my words and all that stuff?
Oh yeah,
Oh yeah,
yeah,
and man, I've been there. We've all been there.
yeah. I was going to say that's yeah. I don't get that way anymore with sales, but after 30 years, I kind of pretty used to it. But
Yeah, because
yeah,
you got the reps, man.
yeah,
Because you got the
yeah.
reps, and for the people just starting off, they don't. So they're questioning everything. Like, how do I introduce myself? What do I say I do? Like, I mean, everything.
Well, let me ask you this question, and because you told me off before we started, your dad, you kind of took over from your dad.
Hmm.
You know, how important do you think it is I'm going to say men because we're both men, uh, to continually trying to think of the right to make themselves uncomfortable with a new activity. Meaning,
Uh,
like you said, with the walk, I had a friend down the street and he's like, "Hey, what are you doing this week?" And I'm like, he was a ex-Marine and he did the rucks and the Murphs and all that. And
hmm
I'm not in that kind of shape. I did a couple burpees with him and I was like, oh my God. But he's like, hey, let's go for a walk. I think it was a Saturday morning. And I go, all right. And we did like 16 miles.
Wow.
And it was just like, you get done. You're like, holy I was white for a day and a half, but I now know I can do that walk, and like for
Yep.
me, like I do roller skating. So I'm going in skate parks, trying things that I shouldn't be doing at my age. But, it makes me, when I want to talk to you, if I get nervous, about a podcast coming up,
Yep.
I've faced things.
Yep.
So how important is it to get out of that comfort zone? Because that's why I found myself being like, oh, I'm pretty good at my job. I'm not
Yep.
stressed anymore.
Yep. I think that's it. um, I think it is arguably one of the most important things in your life, and I would say it's not just men, it's women, because we have the fortune right now of probably living in the most comfortable generation that's ever been
Yeah.
assembled. I mean, when
Yeah.
you really think about it,
Absolutely.
like if you have a newer car, generally speaking, that thing's gonna run. Like those things are now built to last 10 years, 100,000 miles, whatever. You can buy something on Amazon, have it delivered same day.
Yeah.
Worst case tomorrow. We're talking right now in front of each other. I didn't have to drive over or fly over and meet you. So
Yeah.
technology can be great, but it can also cost us. And that is probably one of the biggest things that drove me to launch the School of Grit coaching program was, man, we just need to do hard things. That's one of the taglines we use is do hard things. How often? Every day. It doesn't,
Yeah.
now you don't have to go walk 16 miles every day. I'm not
No, no.
saying that, but you know what? You could wake up half an hour early. That's hard. It's still hard for me to do that. You could hop in a cold shower.
Yeah.
I hate the cold, but it's hard, and that's why I do it. You could there's lots of like little things you
Yeah.
can do. So I'm just a big believer of, man, do something that sucks every day. Now it doesn't have to be on the level of suck. It doesn't have to be like up here to where you're just gonna be your body's gonna be thrashed for the week and whatever.
Yeah.
However, I am a big proponent of those too, but scheduling in. So like take a look at your calendar and be like, okay, if I want to do something gnarly, maybe you just do that once or twice a year. But then monthly, I kind of want to test myself too a little bit. Realizing that, hey, I got a family I got to come back to. It's
Yeah.
not just me. So we got to be cognizant of that. But
Yeah.
yeah, man.
That's what my wife constantly reminds. She's like, "Hey, I know because I'm trying some jumping out of 7 foot bowls and doing some stupid things."
Hmm.
And she's like, "Just remember, you got a
You got to
job
come home.
you got to come home
Yeah,
and you got a job.
yeah. We need you here.
I don't need the phone call. Pete's stuck at the bottom of a bowl. We can't get him out.
Yep. Yeah.
So
It's what you just remind me of is I got a guy named Earl in my crew. Shout out to Earl. Awesome dude. The farthest he had ever been was 6 miles. He ended up walking, I think, close to 40 during this
wow.
full day walk. But he texted me. He's like, "Hey man, I know I've gone 24 hours, but my crucible's not over." I said, "Oh." He's like, "Yeah, we have family pictures coming up, and my anniversary was also, tomorrow." And I'm like, "Oh yeah." So to your point, we do this stuff, but we got to be able to come back and
Yeah.
and be dad, or be the husband to our spouse. And I tell you what, that's hard to do when you're going on zero sleep, you're
Yeah.
tired, your body's aching. But again, that's where we grow, because it's like he did that. Now he can always go back to that moment when he's
He
tired or he
knows.
feels his emotions about to blow up. He's like, "Man, I've done harder stuff than this before. I'm good to go."
Yeah.
Yeah.
Totally agree. So I was going to ask you, how are you balancing the coaching, the day job, the kids, and then the wife? I mean, that's
Yeah. Yeah, I think that's a common issue, or can be, for anybody who's got a lot of things that they're working on. So I'm a huge proponent of a calendar. I mean, if I didn't have my calendar, I'd be lost. So I designate like certain hours of the day to
okay.
go to, let's say, the day job, and then typically when I'm doing coaching or I'm doing something School of Grit related, that's typically first thing in the morning. So my calls are 6:30 Eastern in the morning.
Wow.
Yes, because I'm also a proponent of uh, winning in the mind before setting foot on the battlefield. So if we can get people up early, get them ready to rock and roll, like they're charged, man. They're ready to take on that day. But yeah, most of my coaching's either in the morning or night, and then but I try to keep my evenings. Evenings are family time.
Yeah.
So like my kids right now, they're 11 and 8. Depending on what day it is, they generally get home around 4. So I just know, okay, I need to be kind of like wrapping stuff up around, let's say, 5ish,
Yeah.
and then from 5 to whatever time they go to bed, man, I'm dad. I'm just damn. I'm dad, and I'm a husband. And is it perfect? Does it always work out that way? Of
No.
course not. You're always going to have customers calling you late, and I'll gladly take those, if they're the right customers. Or if you got a client calling you, yeah,
Yeah.
of course. If there's
Yeah.
something super needy, yeah, I'll drop what I'm doing. But I don't just pick up the phone for anybody or everybody. That's like sacred time for me that I purposely block off of my schedule. And then, yeah, if I gotta do a little something at night, I'll do it. But that's it, man. Just kind of day in, day out, being very strategic with where I'm spending my time and how much time I'm devoting. Tim Ferriss, I read
Yeah.
I read his book, as I'm sure you did, 4 Hour Work Week. It
Yeah.
was very revolutionary. So I follow some of those principles. Not that I work 4 hours a day or 4 hours a week, but you get the you get the
Yeah.
principle. Like what could you do if you only had 4 hours? Like how would
What
you
would you get it
Yeah,
done?
what would you
Yep.
get done? And it's like, okay, this is the most important stuff. So I think it's very easy for us to just get wrapped up in just the day-to-day operational stuff, whether it's answering email, getting back on voicemails, doing the stuff, and then it's like, wow, where'd the day go? I didn't get any of the stuff done that I intended on.
It started for me. It's kind of weird. I've told my wife this many times. My head is always working. Like
Hmm.
I don't have those moments where unless I'm training or doing something specific. But for the most part, my brain's always going, okay, I get that, I get that, I'll get that, I got to call them, I got to contact them, I got to. And then when it gets overwhelming, like last night, I'm like, okay, make a list,
Yeah.
make a friggin' list, because all of a sudden I start missing some things, and so I make my list of all my to dos, and it keeps me on point. But
Yeah, and it gets it out of your head too, because
yeah,
I'm very similar. My mind's always working, but I feel like I need to write it down or put it in my notes app on my phone because I don't want to lose it either.
yeah,
It's usually a really good idea. Is I just can't do it right this second. Not that I'm not going to do it, but this the timing's off. And yeah, I'm a big list guy. My problem is my list becomes multiple lists, and then sometimes I get overwhelmed with all the lists, and it's like, oh boy, okay, I'm just
yeah.
going to start over.
I definitely try and go. I mean, I have the long range list. Like I got to clean up the garage,
Right.
you know. But on the list today is getting out the UPS boxes of all my old samples that I had from the past season. So I'm kind of working on the big list, but I had to truncate it and make it the smaller piece I could handle today.
Well, it makes sense to have you've got the large goal that's going to take some time to get to, but you
Yeah.
got those little goals, micro goals, they stack up and you stack them one on top of another and get stuff done. That's something else. Another really good book and YouTube video was Make Your Bed. Have you seen that one?
Oh yeah. Yeah.
Yeah, that was great by Admiral
I was
McRaven,
gonna
I
say it's
believe
an
it is.
admiral. Yeah.
Yeah, it's awesome. But talking about the importance of making your bed, and I'm not gonna lie, he's the reason I make my bed.
Me
I've
too.
been I've been doing it for several because I
Me
used to
too.
be of the old advanced. Oh, why am I gonna make it, man? It's just, I gotta make it every day. Like, why do it? And then you listen to it, and it's okay. That makes sense. Habit stacking. Yeah, yeah, yeah. Okay,
Yeah.
I'm bought in. And now I love it, dude. I do it so much. Do you? When you're traveling, do you make
Yeah.
your bed? Yeah, I do the
Yeah.
same thing. I do the
Yeah.
same exact thing.
Yeah. For me, like he talks about it, you accomplish something.
Yep.
And so you've starting your day off with an accomplishment, with a goal that you've reached, that you had, and now you've moved, and it takes you 3 minutes,
Yep.
but yet you've started your brain off.
You get a
Right.
win,
It's kind of like
even if
eat.
it's tiny.
It's
You
kind of
know.
like eating. You know. I mean, I love an egg McMuffin sandwich and the hash brown and all that. Especially when I'm traveling. It's really simple. It's two
Hmm.
minutes, and I'm back on the road, and I can keep going. But then I'm like, God, if I do that every day,
Yeah.
uh, that's a lot of push-ups and a lot of sit-ups I got to do, and
Yeah.
you
Good
know,
luck. That's a lot. Do you travel like when you travel? Do you take food with you
yeah.
at all? Or, yeah.
Well, and now that I bought an RV in January,
Oh, okay.
so now I still eat out maybe once every third day. I'll have a meal outside,
Mm-hmm.
but for the most part, I'm eating all the food that I bring, and it's easier, it's cleaner, it's cheaper. You know,
Yeah, it's the way to
it,
go.
yeah. It's all you have to control what you put in your mouth.
That's hard to do too, because
Ah,
I am
incredibly
a
hard.
I got a sweet tooth.
Dude, me
So
too. I'm
man,
sugar. Yeah.
if it's in the house, like it's going down. And my wife, that's like her jab. And I love my wife, and she would laugh if I'm telling the story, but like that's her jab. She's like, you preach grit and mental toughness. She's like, why are you eating that sugar? Why are you eating those chips right now? Or why are you in the
Yeah.
pantry? I'm like, hey, I'm weak. I have my
Yeah.
weak points too, right?
That's
I'm like, cause it's there.
dude. I think we're married to the same woman.
Yeah.
Because I'm the same way. It's like I have I like sweets, and so yeah, that's I'm working on that.
Yeah, I told her I was like, I mean, this is by no offense to anyone out there, but like if you're an alcoholic and you put like open containers of booze all like I'm not saying you're gonna drink it, but it's gonna enter your mind. You're gonna want to because it's there and it's easy, and it's like I don't want that temptation, man. I need to get rid of it.
Halloween is right around the corner, man.
Oh gosh, we still have leftover
And you
Halloween
have
candy from
kids,
last
yeah.
year, man. Yeah,
You
oh
have
yeah.
kids. I don't have kids anymore. I have no excuse. I have no reason to go to the CVS and buy the bag of candy.
So, do you buy the full size candy bars, or like what's your?
No, I'd like no, I don't like chocolate, which
Yeah,
drives my wife crazy. Because she loves chocolate.
yeah,
So
mine
she's
does
like,
too.
I'm the candy corn, just pretty much the pure sugar.
She turned me on to candy corn and peanuts, just a mixture of that.
Yeah.
Have you had that?
No.
Oh, dude, it tastes
The
like candy
sweet and
apple.
so, oh
Gotta
my
do it.
God.
Yeah, go get it.
Oh, look at you.
It's gonna change your
You're
world.
killing me now. 'Cause-
See what I mean? Though we got that sugar too, so it's like
I know.
my mouth's already
It's
salivating.
gone.
So
Yeah,
yep.
I think that's my take is better is better.
Yeah,
If I eat one extra meal that's cleaner, lighter weight, better's better.
yeah,
I've told all my friends that. I mean, I I, I started, I went into plant based for a while. Now I'm backed out of it, but
yeah.
I tell guys, I go, I have friends that eat meat and a beer with every meal.
Hmm.
I mean, every meal, breakfast, lunch, dinner. And I'm like, dude, he's younger than me. He's 51 now. And I go, just make one meal better.
Yep.
And then, I don't want you to change all 15 meals or seven times 21 meals, but,
It's a
but
great metaphor for I see that type of mentality with lots of things is people want to jump in with both feet or jump in off the diving board, the high dive, and they're afraid to. They don't even know how to swim,
yeah.
But it's like you said, man, just one small thing, master that, then move on, then move on. Very rarely can you just man go in completely cold or quit something completely cold or completely change your diet like overnight. Needs to be some baby steps built in there for sure.
Like, what do you do to keep your relationship with your wife happy?
Yep. So, our kids are young. So, like
Yeah.
a lot of
You're
parents out
busy.
there whose kids, yeah, we're busy, right? We're going from sporting events to sporting events. And I mean, at night,
Birthday parties
we're
and
to birthday parties. I mean, it adds up. So, we try to have scheduled date nights, usually twice a month. So, that definitely helps out a lot. And then just trying to do stuff together. Like, for instance, the long walk I just talked
yeah, I
about.
saw that.
She joined me
That's pretty
and
cool.
she wanted to join me. I didn't say, "Hey, you gotta come with me on this." Like she's like, "Hey, I'm thinking about walking with you," and I'm like, "This is awesome." I tell you what, Peter, dude, the level of conversation we had
Yeah.
during those 24 hours was freaking unbelievable. Like I got to meet a side of my wife I don't think I'd ever met before, because there was a point where she was a little cold, a little tired, a little scared, hungry,
Yeah.
really questioning what her body was doing. Because, man, if you haven't gone like that, you're going to have some weird things start happening. And she started, I know I'm telling stories about her. I don't think she'll care, but she's like, I think I'm going to have to go to the hospital. I was like, really? Why? I'm talking to her. I'm like, oh, I think you're going to be fine.
You'll be fine.
Yeah, our house is right over there, by the way. It's not like we're 17 miles away with no way to get back. As we laugh about it now, but in the moment,
It's all that you're thinking
it's
about.
not a laughing matter. So I got to kind of, or I didn't get to kind of, I did. I got to take care of her. I got to play medic. She got some blisters on her feet, so I'm
Yeah.
sitting there putting some, tape on and doctoring up. So like man, it was awesome. And I encourage. So we're gonna do it again, by the way. So this is gonna be an annual. That was the first time we ever did it, and it was awesome. So we're gonna do it again next year, and we're going to try to get as many people as we can just to join. And I encourage those who do it, man, if you can, because I realize that not everybody's lifestyle can support it. Like we had babysitters because our
Yeah.
grandparents were close. Um, Man, do it with a loved one if you can, or a friend. I guarantee
Yeah.
your level of relationship's just going to go up another notch. Mark my words.
I agree. I mean, and I didn't do the 24-hour, but on the 16-mile walk, I mean, you literally just sit there and talk to people. I mean,
Yeah.
it's kind
And
of,
and then we have programmed in there too. Like we don't tell you when to do it, but Try to have at least an hour of silence, just to be in your own head. And for us, it just happened organically because there's going to be points during 24 hours,
You
obviously,
know,
where you're just, you're hurting, your
you're
legs
zoned
hurt,
out.
you're zoned out, but you're with it. But to me, that's where you make some of the biggest gains potentially in your life are during those moments, and how you control any negativity that comes in or you wanting to quit. I mean, that's it right there.
Yeah.
Because if you can power through that and make it, you'll always have that to go back to, always. And that's what I love about doing those crucible style experiences is that's like that's on the outside, because for me, like I can always go back to that experience in California getting beat down by Navy SEALs. Like up until this point, I've never experienced anything that hard
Yeah.
ever. So when the going gets really tough and the shit's fan, man, it's like I just put myself back in that, and I'm like, it could always be worse.
It's all relative at that point, right?
All relative. Yep.
Yeah.
But again, it's not something you can read about it, you can see the videos, but you got to do it. You have to do the work.
Yeah. Yeah. I was gonna say I don't. I mean, you can watch all the jujitsu tournaments in the world you want, but until you've felt the pressure, you
Oh
don't
yeah.
know what it's like.
Yeah, get choked out and
Yeah.
absolutely. My kids and I we started doing Taekwondo 3 years ago, so I get to do it along. I tell you what, as a parent too, that was one of the best things I ever chose to do was get
Yeah.
to do that alongside them. And yeah, when you're fighting someone for the first time, it's no joke because you've
Yeah.
never been in that situation before. But like anything else, now you're getting the reps. You feel, I mean, you might still get choked out or whatever, but at least you're a little bit more comfortable. You know a little
Well,
bit
yeah,
more
that's it.
moves. You know what
That's
to
the matter.
expect.
It's like, I
Yep.
mean, you still got tired, even though
Oh yeah.
you're walking,
Yep.
but you now know
Mentally, I'd been there
what
before.
to
Like,
expect. Yeah.
yeah, it's like I know what this is because I've been up over 50 hours straight and made that, and I remember hallucinating, and I remember this, that, and the other. And the 24-hour walk, it put me back in there. Just it wasn't quite as
Yeah.
brutal. Let's say, because that was brutal, man. Like I don't ever. People ask me, "Hey, do you want to go back to core camp?" I was like, "No, I have no desire to do it. I don't have a reason to do it, and I'm also big on having a good why. I mean that's big.
Yeah.
Simon Sinek wrote the book on it. I got to be able to answer that at least, or I'm probably not going to sign up. Like, hey, why are you doing it? Like, I don't know. Well, the chances of you being successful are pretty slim if it's a hard endeavor.
Okay. So I'm going to ask you a question that I think about often. I'll kind of end with this. I know why I started the podcast. But how, you you had your day job. You could easily be going through the day to day with what you do. You got a good business. Why do the book? Why do the School of Grit and do all that?
Love that question. So, two different parts of the answer. It's not just one answer. One is the book. I wrote the book specifically for my wife and kids. That was my original intent. It did change, but my intent was to leave them something. It was part of a legacy exercise that I was going through in another coaching group, and I thought, wow, what a cool thing to leave behind to my wife and kids and family and friends was to document all the evolutions I went through over 50 plus hours, the lessons I learned, how to apply them to everyday life, and I got some
Yeah.
challenges thrown in there too. So that's how it started. But what happened, Peter, and you probably had something similar, was the more I started talking to people, I was like, wow, they're a lot like me. Like I remember being stuck in that situation, or I remember that. But now I've evolved and I've got tools. I got things I can teach people, and that is where I discovered what I'm really passionate about and what I feel my purpose is to coach, facilitate, mentor people just to be warriors and take control of their life, and we do that through growing grit. So that's what it's really all about is helping people out at the end of the day. That's why I do
Awesome.
the podcast interviews. That's why I wrote the book. That's why I do the coaching. Because man, when I get a message, and I get them all the time because we've got a private Slack channel. Like, hey, I was experiencing this, but I used the tools, or this great thing happened. Man, that
Yeah.
fires me
You
up, dude.
can't.
It's like there's no better gift. Like you're literally changing someone's life
Yeah.
potentially, and then if they have kids, they could be teaching that to their kids, and you're having generational effect. And I personally think, just given what's going on in the world, like we need more of this. We need
I
more of this
agree.
stuff. You know?
I had the same thing. I look at, I tell people, I go, if God forbid, knock on wood, if I were to die tomorrow, my accounts would be like, hey, what happened to Pete? They'd be like, oh,
Hmm.
you know, he had a heart attack.
Right.
They'd be like, oh, that sucks. He was a good guy. Hey, so anyways, I need to look at summer of 2023, and I need to, but it would just be, and then my company would just hire another rep, and that rep would come in and just go, yeah, it sucks. What happened to Pete? Anyway, da 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 da.
Hmm.
So what are you really truly leaving behind? Whereas now I'm sharing people's stories like yours. It's literally going to be listened to around the world, which
Amazing.
you can't beat that.
Yep. Yeah.
So
And that was because I tell you what, man, writing a book was. And have you written a book by chance?
I've been asked to write a book on that, and I'm like, I don't know if I want to do it. It's just a
Bro,
lot of
it's one,
work,
dude.
but
It's one of the hardest things I've ever done. So worth it, so incredibly worth it, but also one of the hardest things I've ever done. And that was my mindset when I. It took me 5 years to finally like get it published this year.
yeah.
So it took me a while, and it was on again, off again relationship, man. But that's what kept me going. In addition to doing it for my family, was like, man, what if it could actually help someone?
Well,
Just
someone
just one
someone's
person.
gonna buy that book or find it at a Goodwill store someday or whatever,
Yep. Yep.
and buy it for 50 cents, and it could change part of their life.
Yeah, absolutely. And you hear those stories like
Yeah.
all the time.
The ones that you don't hear about are be even more amazing.
Yeah, yeah. The ones you don't. That's the yeah. The ones you don't know about.
Yeah.
Yeah,
Because they're going to read one chapter that's going to click their head, and you're going to be, if you were to know about it, you would be like, God, that was a throwaway line, or
yeah,
something I just added on
yeah.
in the middle of the night,
Yeah,
and it could change someone's life.
it could change someone's life. That's like what we're doing right now. Is believe like you're one conversation away from potentially altering
Yeah,
the course of your life. You just never know.
absolutely.
Yep.
So, what's the best way for my listeners to kind of follow you and see what you have coming up?
Yeah, I'd say the easiest way is just to go to my website. It's schoolofgrit.org. So not .com because I don't own that domain. I'm not paying for it. So it's schoolofgrit.org. They'll find any way to access me. I'm on social media. The
Yeah.
book's out, so if you want to help support me, I'd love that. It's on Amazon or Barnes and Noble. School of Grit's out there. And if you're interested in coaching at all, if you liked what we talked about, check out the coaching page. I've got a really cool offering menu you can download, and we can schedule a call and see if it's the right fit.
What helps you more? Amazon Direct, Boop, Barnes and Noble. What's
They're
better
about
for you?
the Amazon Direct probably.
Okay.
I would say just because most people go to Amazon, and what helps any author, not just me, are verified purchases and then leaving an honest
Comment.
review.
Yeah.
Yeah, yeah. I'm not asking you to leave a 5-star review unless you want to. Just leave me a honest review.
Yeah.
That's all I ask.
Yeah. Yeah. It's amazing. You hate to do that because it's the algorithms are real.
It's real. It's how you get noticed.
Yeah.
It really is.
Yeah.
Yep.
Well, I appreciate the time, Brad, man. I'm looking forward to keep following you and see what you got coming up.
Yeah,
So,
right on, Peter. Appreciate you, man. Thanks for
uh,
having me on your show. I really enjoyed it.
you got it, brother. Thanks, buddy.